हे टाकलं. जे आहे कोण म्हणजे हा.
Okay. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, visible, but words are
Ah,
coming a bit larger.
ah, okay. So yesterday we were continuing this question. I'll just recap the question. Then we'll continue to read the answer. This answer is actually quite long. Today, the whole world is running after making a profit, be it in business, employment, or even education, which have termed a profit obsession. This has led to social, economic, and environmental crisis globally. Where can we find their solution? What is the alternative in the if the world wants to escape this vicious cycle of profit making? Right. So that was the question, and we covered a lot of things yesterday actually, and all of them were indicating that how the system has to be changed and somewhat hinting towards education to be the primary way of doing it, right? So everyone needs to be free from the way of revolt and rebellion. The strategies adopted by policies will never result in fearlessness and peace anywhere. Peaceful living requires a cyclical economic system. For example, we deploy our resources in the form of body, mind, and wealth on natural abundance for production, and produced goods become the basis of nourishment and protection of our body and social participation. We again become capable of producing on the basis of this social participation, nourishment, and protection. In this way, it is cyclical. So I'll just pause here. Uh, it's saying here that there has to be some cyclicity in the economic system, and it is saying that we use our resources being mind, body, and wealth. This is a very um fundamental and I think a new way of thinking. Instead of money or paper money, rather currencies or anything like that, we are thinking of mind, body, and uh, sorry, yeah, the mind, body, and wealth as our true wealth, not the money or paper currency that we have. And then we use these three faculties um, on natural vastu, basically on stuff, to produce something from it. And it can be biological things like, for example, crops and all these kind of things, or it can be value addition also, where we are adding value to already some things that we have already bought from the market or we are producing ourselves. So it's like, for example, you may buy something like something raw like achar or raw mangoes, and then you make achar out of it, and then you're adding value to it, you're adding shelf life to it. So then you are then now contributing towards the nourishment, or how it's preserving the the nourishment of the food that you have produced. So just food is not there. There is a lot of things that can be considered like that. uh, I think if we go to the way of fundamental of understanding the four orders, we will understand that the cyclicity, if it is intact, if it is kept intact, then we will continue to do that task or that production. Because production is not just limited to agriculture products here, but rather things that are actually cyclic in nature and they are needed by humans. So that's very important here. The cyclicity of everything that we do will be important, right? And the produced goods become the basis of nourishment and protection of our body and social participation. So, uh, if it is nourishing the body, if it is protecting our body, like for example, clothes, and social participation, like that means a lot of products and services actually come in this place. So if it is adding to that social participation, then we will adhere towards that activity. So that's very important to understand. Right now, a lot of activities that we are doing are quite unnatural and unneeded, like unwanted actually. Uh, one simple example I am reminded of is on the top of my head is that China had built so many houses in their own country, so many flats, just because construction was a booming thing. Then they had to fell those houses and apartment buildings or empty apartment buildings just to keep the prices at the right this thing, because the prices of real estate was collapsing and nobody was buying the houses, so they had to fell the houses to keep the prices in market value. So that's what happens when we are doing something which is not cyclic and which is done without understanding. And if somebody is participating, then everybody just keeps on following doing that, and then actually creates a negative feedback loop. And this same thing is can be observed in the agriculture industry, where somebody planted aloe vera, and then everybody around him starts planting aloe vera, or somebody plants this dragon fruits or any sort of plantation, which is becoming a hot cake in that area, and then everybody else starts to do that just because of the profit. And then what happens is the market crashes of that thing, and then they cannot do anything else. They have to just recover their losses and then start afresh again. So by identifying the soils, by identifying, for example, the, the requirements, then if we do the production, we are all connected in that future utopian village or system, or you can say a utopian civilized way of living, that we are communicating what the needs of our fellow human beings are, and then we are now producing based on that, and then taking care of the cyclicity very intrinsically. So right now what is happening is that I'll give you an example. The tractors, or for that matter the bulldozers and everything that is using this in short earth movers, anything that is classified into this earth movers, be it trucks, be it loaders, be it jcbs, all these things are using fossil fuels to run. And these fossil fuels are actually not how do you say it environmental friendly, or they're not exactly using the fuel which is renewable. So in that sense, they are actually guzzling up the oil. And what took something like millions of years ago, it took millions of years itself, like hundreds and 40 million years I think it takes for oil to be like classified to be natural crude oil, and then we burn it out in, for example, a matter of hours. So that's the time that equation that we are using, that nature took so many millions of years to put the oil under the ground, and we have just exhausted that just in a matter of let's say hours, and they have flattened the land and all these things happening there. So it is not just a mere measure of value for money. Like for example, right now 100 liters per 100 rupees per liter is not the value of oil. It's actually valued according to its purpose, and the purpose is to keep the continents from drifting or from having earthquake shocks and all these kind of activities. And these hydrocarbons are actually not how do you say it they are not saturated, in the sense they are not evolved is not the right word, but they are not exactly baked the right way, and they are, and we are, that's why they are under the earth. And whatever is coming on the surface of the earth is the only things that we can or we should use, because whatever is kept under the earth, be it the nuclear uh, isotopes and things like that, even the oil and the gas and all these things, they have their purpose there, and they, and this is just being recently found by the science community. And so we should not tap into it. And that, for that matter, even groundwater, it is acting like an aquifer for the trees which are actually um, relying on these aquifers, natural aquifers, groundwater to survive. If we are also tapping into that, that means that we are not understanding the need for these aquifers to stay strong, and we are just for the sake of our uh, uh, like requirements, we are tapping into these things, and all the cities, almost all cities, have no ways of replenishing this water, natural water tables. But we are also actually just tapping into these water tables, and then we are just getting deeper and deeper into these aquifers. So a lot of disbalance can happen because of this. A lot of disbalance does happen because of this. Nature tries to solve this problem by, you must have heard a lot of natural disasters, including floods. So if we just just reevaluate everything, we will realize that nature is trying to fix something, and we are actually going to be at the brunt of this first aid, or what earth itself is carrying out, because earth is a self-balancing system. And if we don't understand, I mean, there is no entity, there is no god which is actually balancing anything. It is just created, or it is just appeared to be balanced, and it is towards pro, it is pro balanced, basically. It is pro life, so it is there to support life. So it will try to do whatever it is. For the sake of argument, we can say that niyam niyantran santulan. If we don't understand the niyam, which is the laws, then the niyantran, which is the balancing of those laws, comes into play. That means, for example, the floods are coming into play now, so that santulan, which is the the balance, can be maintained. So that is what is happening actually, and we can see that everywhere. I just heard a couple of days ago, New Zealand has its worst floods ever, and they were completely not aware of it, and they are now actually struggling also. So this may happen, and could happen in India also, that we could have a very bad monsoon, and it is just trying to fill up these earth spaces with water. The global warming has melted the ice caps, so there is a lot of moisture in the air, and that turns into heat pockets and cold pockets, which turn into thunderstorms and violent cyclones and hurricanes and all those kind of things. So again, Niantran is trying to take its shape, and Niantran is trying to play its role, right? So yeah, we can become capable of producing on the basis of this social participation, nourishment, and protection. In this way, it is cyclical. Goods are produced when humans deploy their labor on natural abundance through body and mind. We become free from whining when we realize that we can always produce more than our requirements. So, uh, if we know how much we need, we will also know that we are getting more than what we had planted in the first place. So if the profit incentive is lost, for that matter, we will see that we'll always get more grains than we had planted, and that is a sense of accomplishment in itself. uh, just today morning, I think Shalini had mentioned how the the sparrow was killed. A lot of sparrows were killed in China, but they were the ones who were actually creating the reason for the grains to be in abundance also in China. So what we see with our eyes is actually not what is actually happening. The Chinese people also suffered a lot of losses because of worms and all this kind of things taking over their fields, simply because there were no sparrows around, because they were all killed. So nature is there to provide for everyone and everything. And once we understand existence, that it is the culmination and intermingling of all the three orders, then we will also understand that all the three orders need their food supply from the same earth. And then we will also understand we also need the earth forms, we also need the microorganisms, we also need the birds, everything we need when we are planting and growing something. So we will always have this kind of uh, uh, the effect, as it said here, we will not whine when we are producing, because we will feel that all these orders are also being taking their share, and they're not even, it's not like they come with a container, or they come with a tiffin box, for example. When we are, I remember when we are going to a wedding of some sort, we always bring a tiffin for our maybe old age grandparents or someone to, so that we can take the food from the wedding, and then we can give it to our parents. But this is not the case. These insects, these birds, these worms, they are there, they're eating their share, and they're not packing and taking it somewhere else. They're just there and they're working on the fields. And I would actually add, they're working 24/7 without any payment. So we have to just understand their roles, and that's how we'll actually stop whining. As it said here, we'll be free from whining when we realize that we can always produce more than our requirements. We have always desired satisfaction. We have always wanted to be happy. Therefore, we keep searching for ways to achieve satisfaction. And when we find a way, we adapt it. We adopt it. It is not about giving up anything. It is about converting wrong into right, crime into justice, war into peaceful coexistence, revolt into cooperation, and rebellion into friendship. So, again, very easily understood with examples that I just gave. Um, what we feel that they are enemies, these earthworms, these birds, and these all these small animals, and once we realize that they are not um, uh, in a sum total, they are not as um, as negatively involved in our things, then we will realize that we are supposed to be coexisting with them peacefully. We are instead of revolting with them with pesticides and herbicides and all these kind of things, we will be cooperating with these things, right? And the sense of rebellion is turned into friendship, right? So we naturally accept these things. Ask any of the 7 billion people in the world if they want revolt, rebellion, exploitation, and war. All of them will say no. In my view, no one wants to keep whining all the time. The cyclical economic system can liberate humankind from whining, revolt, rebellion, exploitation, and war. Just as a sick person desires to be healthy, humans inherently desire a cyclical economic system, even while living in a profit obsessed economic system. It is about awakening that inherent desire within us. A cyclical economic system is inseparable aspect of human awakening. Okay. So this is a very important sentence, that if it is not cyclical, and indeed, what is the issue right now with all this landfills that we can see, that they are filled, every city is having a landfill of waste, and a dump, for example, a place where we just pile up and acres of it. And this is because we are consuming, or we are producing something which is not cyclical in our environment. So it is just piling up, and the government can do so much. I mean, because the government has so many other machineries, but then the waste management is actually starts from our home, where we are segregating the waste. And I don't think that there are enough hands to segregate the waste at the landfills. But if every home was responsible for their green waste management, their dry waste management, paper waste management, if they just sort even in three or four categories, plastics, cardboards, glass, and things like that, then we will see that this the sort of cyclicity will happen, because these things can be recycled, plastic can be recycled, paper can be recycled. But as long as the humans, the household basically, are not doing the sorting, then they will just go and pile up in the landfills, and they just add to the leaching of all these toxic chemicals, because the water in the green waste gets mixed up with this paper and all this cardboards and all these things, and then it just leaches down to the earth and all those things. So it is actually imperative that we take this economics and recycling and all those things quite seriously, because we are part and parcel of this world, and we are also equally responsible for these landfills. Every time the dustbin fills up, and then it's taken away by the municipal or government or whatever, but then they are not actually dealing with it, they are just piling it up, right? A cyclical economic system is inseparable aspect of human awakening. Its basic principle is production by development of labor and exchange based on labor. So here the effort is counted and the resources I believe are for everyone. So there is no charge I think for water or anything like that. I think it just asks the labor to be for the production by development of labor. So what amount of labor that you've put into some producing something is the amount of labor that can be charged, and then that can also be exchanged with another thing. So we should produce goods for our common and special aspirations based on this principle. The cyclical economic system is sustainable, natural, aligned with destiny, and coexistentially harmonious. Therefore, we should study it thoroughly, actualize it in our lives, and after becoming satisfied, become a source of satisfaction for others. So, again, here, therefore, we should study it thoroughly. Um, Cyclical economics, that's also another um, true, I think, venture that everybody should go and adopt in this learning of this darshan, because it's also said here that we should study thoroughly and actualize it in our lives. So, yes,
Yeah, I just
yes.
wanted to ask, there was this doubt. It says aligned with destiny.
Mm.
Uh, I'm
Is it
still
in this
not
page?
able to. Hmm. This page only. Uh,
Okay,
the cyclical economic system is sustainable,
right,
natural,
right.
aligned with destiny, and coexistentially harmonious.
Harmonious,
Means
right.
aligned with destiny. मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा. If
I think
someone help.
व्यवस्था के साथ aligned है. One can say that aligned with
डेस्टिनी
destiny.
तो व्यवस्था तो नहीं होगा. आई थिंक अगर गणेश भैया के पास हिंदी पुस्तक है और उसमें से बता सकते हैं क्या लिखा है.
नहीं दीदी, अभी वो पुस्तक ना मेरी देहरादून में रह गई है, तो अभी इस समय मेरे
ओके.
पास नहीं है।
पर आप
तो,
I think
या
it's the four order, the three
हाँ,
orders. Can we put that into? Let's see if it see the cyclical economic system is sustainable, natural, aligned with destiny. Matlab, I think it's aligned with all the three orders maybe, and coexistentially harmonious. It's a good point, but I'm picking that meaning from this, that it
राइट.
is aligned with all the orders. That's what I'm picking out from this meaning. Because if we just remove those three words, aligned with destiny, and we just continue reading the sentence, cyclic economic system is sustainable, natural, and coexistentially harmonious. So that is only that right. I think meaning might be coming out of that. Aligned with destiny means the.
ये नियति नियति वर्ड हो सकता है यहाँ पे ना। नियति
Mm,
का मतलब यहाँ पे वो डेस्टिनी नहीं है जो हम भाग्य वाली डेस्टिनी की बात करते हैं। यहाँ
हाँ
पे
वो तो है ही।
कोई नियम
परिभाषा के
नियम के हिसाब से ही कह रहे हैं। नियति का मतलब यहाँ
हम्म
पे नियम के हिसाब से।
बढ़िया. नियति सही बात है.
right,
हाँ जी।
हम्म
नाउ यस. बढ़िया.
हम्म, हाँ, okay, great. So I will read ahead. Upon seeing the inequality and misery along humans, Karl Marx gave the concept of dialect, dialectical materialism, which was propagated as communalism. It envisioned a utopian world in which a political system would emerge from this communist ideology that will overcome economic disparity among humans. In the last 70 years, two-thirds of the world adopted communism, and some profound experiments were carried out based on it. Due to this, millions of people suffered enormous hardships, being hypnotized with the hope of bringing that utopia to reality. We can now say that communism, at least in its experimental form, failed miserably. We, the people of the world, have demonstrated that conflict cannot be the foundation for happiness in human life. We have heard you say that behavioral centered public discourse can take humans to resolution by dispelling problems and discords against them. You have tried to say this again and again. Can you please elaborate on this true form? The hypothesis of dialectical materialism is that everything functions through conflict. Practically, this can be seen as you exert force on me and I exert force on you, and thus both of our actions continue. This has been the thought process, but progress together or one, sorry, this has been the thought process, both progress together or one perishes while the other progresses. According to this belief, only the strong are fit to exist while the weak are not. So I'll just pause here. This actually is applicable to the plant and the animal order, the Jiva Avastha and the Prana Avastha, because their their nature is to multiply. The plants are supposed to multiply, and the Jiva Avastha are supposed to survive. So only the fit need to be surviving in that place, because if, like for plants, the plants that are weak, that are rotting, that have not good structure of roots and all those things, if they also had survived, then we would not have this great sort of continuity of all these seeds that we are having right now, because evolution has actually terminated all those breeds and all those classification of plants and even animals that are not conducive to the environment, like
Mm.
um, and for that, the survival of the fittest applies. But for humans, I would say, uh, since humans have it in like it's their dharma to be happy, so that is conflicting with the very fact that the the fit has to survive. What of the who is unfit? Doesn't he or she deserve to be happy? That is the question, because it can be just simply put like that. If we accept that humans need to be happy constantly, then who is the person who is saying otherwise, that a human being cannot, or human being having the correct like Jeevan and the body and everything, and then how can we classify somebody to be happy and somebody to not be happy? What is the criteria of that? Because until now we had used the race, the jati and the color of the skin and all those kind of things to deplore particular type of human beings. But here also Babaji has said that every human is the same, and every human being can understand everything. And so again, this question is actually very interesting. Let's see what it says here. I have seen that there is no conflict in existence. Each unit has inherent strength. Even a subatomic particle has inherent strength, as do atoms, molecules, and bodies composed of molecules. All possess inherent strength. They are capable of achieving complementarity through mutual offering and acceptance, leading to progress. If they had understood existence, they couldn't have written dialectical materialism. Misuse of intellect leads to the belief that we alone will remain, rule the earth, and all others will perish, that our religion will remain while all other religions will perish. We hear such boastful slogans daily. These slogans haven't provided us with any definite direction or goal, nor will they ever. A definite program can only arise when our direction and goal are clear. I have studied this and impart accurate understanding to those who wish to study. This is my daily work. It's not as if I am doing you a huge favor. Just as air does its work and water does its work, I do my work. I am firmly convinced that whatever work I have done, and for however long, has been for this understanding and objective. So yeah, this is very again, I'm just pausing here because I'm just seeing the conviction that Babaji is having here, that he is convinced of this work, and that is that everything is coexisting with everything else, and that humans alone cannot survive on this planet. Just everywhere humans, no plants, no animals, they cannot survive, and that is true. And every, from the subatomic level to the, to the humans, or to the human, which is I'm saying this humans because it is the highest order. But everything is coexisting, everything is needed. And this very design that we have. For example, even if the cities, we are seeing the design of the cities that we have. I mean, modern architecture and modern cities are now realizing this, and they're having this uh, they call sarvajanic plots, like a plot where it's like gardens are there and all this kind of thing. So this is just recently being realized, even by the government. But for the fact of the matter is, when Priyahit Labh was ruling, like it was at this peak, like industrial age, right? Every plot of land, everything that could be salvaged from the earth surface and even under the earth surface was used as a resource and marked as a resource. In fact, even in today's day and age, we are using the word resource when it comes to mining and places where you can find some sort of nutrients or elements. And for the fact of matter is that if we look at a recipe, like for example, if you are making something, then a number of ingredients are required, right? So if we look at earth also, there are a number of elements that it has in a particular area. And now if we minus some ingredient and then expect the earth to be working normally after that, so that's not going to happen. I'm talking about mining. If we start mining something and move a lot of earth, buckets and buckets, and I'm talking about buckets the size of a room. If we use that much of buckets and buckets of earth and then extract some particular element from it and then throw back the rest into some another pile or make another mountain of it, because you cannot just throw it back where you have dug it. You have to throw it outside somewhere else. So you're making a mountain again somewhere else, which has less of that element that you have mined, right? So that's, we are creating an imbalance, and the ingredients of which is, as we had talked in the beginning, that earth is a life, pro life supporting entity, and we expect that life will go on as normal after that. So that's not going to happen. So I was always struck by this sentence when Babaji said that these elements, and especially the heavy elements, be it the nuclear elements, are there to maintain the climate of that area. And he has written this somewhere, and I just correlated that with the fact that a lot of places in America, because America is full of natural resources also, America is also conditioned to very violent thunderstorms and hurricanes and all these kind of things. And they have insurance for this actually, and wildfires also. So I'm just kind of correlating that maybe they have mined those places, and maybe because of the extraction of those elements. I mean, America has the largest uh, pool of nuclear weapons, and that has actually been because they have extracted that uranium or plutonium or whatever it is from their land, and then they have converted those radioactive elements into bombs. And instead of leaving them, instead, if they had left them there, probably it can be argued. I mean, there's no way of verifying this fact, but it can be argued that these radioactive elements were actually playing a role in the normalizing of climate. And now, since that they have been extracted, the violent uh, and on the contrary, if we look at Africa, for example, we have never heard of Africa, or the continent of Africa, having sustained a very big hurricane or a very big tornado or anything like that. And uh, we are also seeing how Africa is rich in elements, be it in lithium or even gold and all these kind of things. And I'm sure a lot of radioactive elements are also being there. So these elements in their constituents, in their proportion, in their ratios, are actually, we can just deduce from this. I mean, it's there for study and for research, but we can deduce from this that maybe this is the reason that the climate is quite favorable in places that we have not harnessed the or mined the elements. And when we have mined the places, we are seeing the effect of it. America being the worst hit, and I'm talking about North America especially, because South America, where Brazil and all these places are, where the Amazon forest are and everything seems to be normal. I've not heard of tornadoes and hurricanes affecting these places. Maybe because there are not a lot of people there, so they are not documented or anything like that. But I am just, as I saying, it's my own analysis, and I'm seeing it. It's having a stand based on the lack of it has its effect, and the abundance of these nutrients has an effect also, which is balance. And I say this with that sort of understanding. So yeah, once we have understood these kind of things, once we have seen the reason for its harmony, then we will also understand how important it is to leave the surface the way it is, and actually not needed as such. The mining is only required when we have not defined our needs, and our requirements are off the off the charts, because we have also not understand that we are different from the Jeevan, as in the body has its own requirements, but there are not so many. Like, we don't need to have 2 to 3 cars, we don't need to exchange our mobiles every year for a new one, so these kind of things are always there to understand, and be sensitive about. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes, I will read ahead. If somebody else has anything to say, they can say.
Basically, Babaji is saying, as far as this dialectric materialism is concerned,
Hmm,
यानी कि द्वंदात्मक भौतिकवाद की जो बात है, वो
hmm,
एक that was given as one of the postulate for the
hmm,
development or for the survival. Like the example was given of, if there is a lion or a deer, the deer has to run to uh, save himself, and the
right,
lion has to catch him to to survive. But
right.
this Babaji said there is no need for this. The
Hmm,
human being can easily survive with the cooperation,
hmm,
with the complementariness. So that is the
right,
very beautiful thing I find in Babaji's philosophy, and that is
right,
quite possible. And there is no need of this kind of struggle. But this
right.
struggle is essential for survival. There is no need for that.
Hmm, hmm, right. I mean, I can actually see everything now, in the sense that anything that has not added to the complementariness has actually gone extinct. One can argue to that extent, because those bodies, or those animals, and those even human beings will survive on this earth, I think, if we keep on understanding our complementaries. And at some point, we are actually uh, doing some things right. And that's why we are seeing that we are also healthy, in the sense we are happy, in the sense when we are contributing towards the cyclicity of nature, we are adding towards the land, we are adding towards the animal order also. And if we are doing it even without awareness, or without not having the awareness, people who are connected with the cyclicity of things, they are actually somewhat in a balanced state of livelihood than those who are exploiting. So I mean, it's clear in my mind that cyclicity is a very important part of existence, and that we are the ones as humans, we have to understand that, because animals are unknowingly doing it and having a part to play, and those which we have not played the part or not doing it have actually gone extinct. So a simple realization I had was that when animals which are non-vegetarian, they drink from a water body, they use their tongue to lick the water, right? And so I'm just assuming that when that animal was not drinking like that, then the bacteria and the viruses in the mouth, which are in abundance of a non-vegetarian or carnivorous animal, must have put the mouth in the river, and so the river got poisoned because of the abundance of bacteria and viruses leading to the river from the mouth. And so that river turns poisonous, and then that river again feeds to all those animals surrounding it, and that kills that particular locale of animals which are relying on that pond of river. And so the survival of that animal, which was licking by coincidence, just keeps on multiplying, and the rest of the animals are just dying out. So we even see today that uh, the I mean, it's so clear sometimes if you see it just biologically, that herbivorous entities like us and even animals like cows and horses and donkeys and all these things, they drink by putting the mouth in the water because they don't have that carcinogenic or pathogenic bacteria in their mouths. And so that is okay for the river and it can sustain that blow of bacteria and viruses. But the moment the carnivorous has to drink, it just allowed to lick the water, and that means that the water stays um, fresh in that area and it's not turning to poison. So those animals that are living around that area will be surviving. So again, survival is also linked with the things that are in cyclic in nature, those who have preserved the cycle, and those which were not in this cycle, they have also been exterminated. That's what I'm saying. That and from this simple reason, we can see that even humans, if we keep on, if the right narrative is there, if we keep on sucking out the nutrients with our mouth, like literally, if that means, and we are not, when we are having carcinogenic, pathogenic bacteria in our mouth, by that I'm meaning if we are not having the right mindset, if we are being exploitative, if we are being, subjugating things and the elements in the nature to a lot of pain, then we will also be exterminated. Because the same pool of water, like the same earth that you are living in, will turn toxic, and it is turning toxic in a way, right? And the first ones to go is the last one which has appeared on this orderliness, which is the human. So that has to be really understood far and wide, because if we see this analogy that we are the ones which are dependent on all the three orders, and if one dwindles, then the whole thing collapses, and the first one to suffer is the one which is at the top, which is the humans, right? So it's as we say, keep on saying, it's the 11th hour. We have to take very uh, stringent uh, like initiatives towards orderliness, and not just it's not into it's a need, it's a must now. If we don't do something about the humans orderliness, then and all it needs is a humane way of seeing the things, right? It's not something like rocket science that we have to do. It's just everybody can understand these things, everybody can participate into these things, and orderliness can be maintained, and the earth can at least start healing, and we can all live in abundance and prosperity, and with harmony with everything, right? So it's not so complicated as such. So understanding again, right? I firmly convinced that whatever work I have done and for however long has been for this understanding and objective, through this I find resolutions easily at every turn, in every issue, work, behavior, production, and exchange. I am happy because of this. And so, in my family, I see that every family wants to be happy. Every human wants to be happy and wise. No one wants to be a fool. Even if you call a fool, he will curse you and call you a fool in return. So, yeah, this happens because no one accepts what is unacceptable. Foolishness, conflict, revolt, rebellion, fighting are unacceptable to me. Materialism asserts that nothing can happen without revolt and rebellion. In contrast, resolution centered materialism posits that everything is existence has inherent strength. This inherent strength manifests as use, right use, and purposeful use, which are the natural essences of an awakened life. So, again, here, uh, I mean, we use our might of our wealth and our mind and our body for extraction and for profit and for gains and all these kind of things. But if we do it for purposeful use, then this is what is known as awakened life, right? Very nicely put. The main issue is whether science can be aligned with wisdom. Wisdom means recognition of the purpose. Purpose should align with science, and science should be aligned with wisdom. Science aligned with wisdom means humans becoming capable of analyzing purposes. Science aligned with wisdom means humans becoming capable of analyzing purpose, right? So And until science can analyze purposes, its logic is incomplete. So until now, what we have seen is, and I think what's when Prabodhak has explained it, that we have gone to the extent of looking even at an atom and trying to split the atom, trying to stretch the atom, trying to blast the very fabric of atoms, but not seeing the complementarity of atoms. We never talk about how sodium, a very volatile metal, and chlorine, a very poisonous gas, when they come together, they shed their attributes. I mean, something which is poisonous gas, a chlorine, the gas, and combines with sodium and creates sodium chloride. We never talk about this harmony, how they just share the orbit and they become something as simple as table salt, of which all food is tasteless without, you know. So this is not talked about science. So wisdom, as we said it, wisdom is needed, and this is going to be imparted through the teachers of the tomorrow, that will be aligned with coexistence, and that's how they will take the science step ahead. Instead of breaking apart the atom and seeing its constituents like that, why don't we see the atom as it is, and how its purposefulness is in the existence, and how each atom plays a vital role into the coexistence. I mean, it would be an endless journey, I believe, and a very vivid, colorful journey, I think, because every atom and element has its part to play to make form complex compounds. We can actually, Babaji has said once that we are still not able to make products out of plants and jiva avastha. Like we are still making products made of padartha avastha, which is material order. So once we start understanding coexistence, once we start to understand the machinery, the mechanics behind plants and behind animals, then we will create those kind of products in the future which will be in line with existence and coexistence. We have somewhat walked on the path of creating a good breed, in the sense when we are talking about cows, we have made a good breed for the production of milk. When we are talking about rice, we have made the basmati rice and all this kind of things. So these are very small places that we have ventured out into, and we have made products out of these genres, which are actually now becoming our how do you say it, habit, our heritage, because every person now knows what is basmati, and this basmati was not there in the beginning. I mean, when the rice was grown, it was just the normal rice, but some group of farmers had gone to the extent of making that through the selection of seeds, through growing it into very good conditioned grounds, and they had selected those seeds and again harvested the best out of those, selected from that, again harvested the best out of those, and then selected again, and they found the basmati that we find it today. So then that becomes the heritage of our human society, or the humans in general. But a lot of research and a lot of I mean, R&D can be going through uh, towards orderliness. If we understand orderliness, and we can create a lot of products and a lot of like we don't have machinery and tools like that. But again, I'm going to give you an example where there is this series where I saw in the Star Trek, I'm reminded of that, where a biological entity was traveling in space, and it could travel in space, and it could make the inhabitants survive inside its body. So like human beings were inside that body, and that body was biological, and that biological body is so huge it can take a couple of group of people into other worlds, basically inside it's inside its own housing, and inside its housing it's having this habitat where humans can survive, but outside there is the coldness of space and all those things. So right now we are using these entities or space rockets, but in future we might actually devise that kind of organism that can travel into space. I'm just saying this because I have seen that series. It was quite a very interesting, and I'm able to correlate it here, because that is the extent of what we can create in the future if we know the harmony. and traveling, like for example on rocket fuel and all these kind of things that which can get exhausted, maybe we can travel on those kind of bodies that are able to survive the harshness of space, but they are also biological, so there is a sort of sustenance of, or a self recharging mechanism, maybe through the stars or something like that, and that is able to sustain also human beings. So just a very wild thought I'm throwing out there. But yes, indeed, we have not completely gone through the process of making the best of tools and the best of we have not achieved the height of that. But yes, we have made the best of tools using the material order, but we are far from making the things in orderliness. I'm keeping that as a fulcrum always, that even if we do something like this, venture into space and all this kind of thing, it should be for the sake of orderliness. Otherwise, again, it will be like rockets that we are going to fire so that we can get hold of some asteroid and then mine it again and then bring the gold here again on Earth, so that we can keep on cycling back again the same problem, the same issues, that whoever has the money has the 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 power and all this kind of things. So again, cyclicity has to be maintained, and orderliness also has to be given a thought. And again, also that we don't create this kind of machines or this kind of bodies in the future and the Jeevans that are actually going to be harmful. We have already started to do that through the drones and the robots. I'm sure you must have heard how Ukraine has used a sort of Trojan horse kind of way to attack Russian and also its military places through these drones. So we have already started doing that, but let's not do that with the Geo Avastha and the Prana Avastha, right? So orderliness again and understanding the human being is very imperative at this point of time, where a very I'm sure you must have heard some Chinese couple had actually been caught in some university of, I keep on forgetting the names of this university, but they were working on a pathogenic sort of virus, and they were caught. They were Chinese nationals, and they were caught doing this in America, in US, and they were working on this pathogenic virus so that it could be spread through the some system. So this kind of research are actually not needed, and they are very malign in nature. And so this is basically because you have not understood human beings, you have not understand orderliness, you have not understand oneness as a human society, as a undivided society, right? We are still thinking in pockets, and in pockets I mean the countries or the clans or the race and all this kind of still these things are still evident in human thoughts. So that is creating the issues here actually, right? So again, purposefulness, and this is what is needed, that Babaji is saying. Science aligned with wisdom means humans becoming capable of analyzing purposes. Until science analyze purposes, its logic is incomplete. So far, proponents of science have claimed to provide logical materialism. So far, proponents of science have claimed to provide logical materialism. If that is true, the first logical question is, what am I? Who am I? Why am I? How do our peace, unrest, happiness, and unhappiness arise? Why do we suffer? Why do we feel happy? Science has not provide does not provide answers to these questions. We cannot reach the truth by stating by starting with a lie. There is a resolution, destiny, and the course of the destiny is in existence. The course of destiny means movements towards resolution. But yeah, so we sort of answered that. What is the meaning of the destiny? The course of the destiny means movements towards resolution, which I have tried to explain in resolution centered materialism. I think he's mentioning the book here, if I'm not mistaken. Sabadhanit. Is it Bhautikvad? Which I have
हाँ
tried to
Yes,
explain.
Vidya.
समाधानात्मक
Yes.
भौतिक
Ah,
Hmm. हो
yeah,
सकता है.
right, buddy. So, resolution is the end basically, and that is what destiny has to pertain to. The course of destiny means movements towards resolution. Behavior centered public discourse is also written on the same basis. Humans want to become happy, and resolution equals happiness, problem equals unhappiness. One must have resolution. How will resolution happen? It will happen through behavior. How will that happen? We will become resolved through relationship, values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction. So let me just pause here. So our behavior is again centered towards our understanding. It's slightly correlated towards our understanding. The more we understand, the more centered our behaviors will be, and that centered is basically coexistence. So I just thought of adding to that. How will resolution happen? It will happen be through behavior. How will that happen? We will become resolved through relationship, values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction. So once we are sound with our relationships, once we are realized with values, once we are evaluation, once we are rightfully evaluating the things, and once we are just fully having mutual uh, understandings, then this sort of behavior will be ours for in orderliness. One can say that, right? So again, relationships, values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction. This is what is basically needs to become resolved. We remain afflicted with problems as long as we don't recognize relationships until we don't fulfill values according to relationships. Resolution happens when relationships, values, evaluation, and mutual satisfaction come together. This coming together transforms four problems into one resolution. Humans have become buried under problems. Anywhere you see there are only problems, and humans are nowhere to be seen. The result is endless social, political, cultural, and economic problems that have eclipsed humans. Every human life ends struggling with problems generation after generation. Its alternative, behavior centered public discourse, postulates that humans become resolved through behavior. Behavior happens in our relationship with humans and in our relationship with natural surroundings. So, I was just actually waiting for this because it's not just the relationships with humans, the way we are behaving with the three orders also is also very important, right? So I think Karl Marx was had it wrong there because he was saying that the humans is the highest and everything. And here it's Babaji is saying that we have to also recognize a relationship with a natural surrounding. So that's basically the three orders also. So yeah, all our behavior with natural surroundings has to be according to law, regulation, and balance for us to find resolution. So law means basically once we understand its utility or purposefulness, right? Regulation and balance. Like I can say something on balance because I know that nature is designed in such a way that it does the balance. Niyam Niyantran Santulan, right? Uh, so I think regulation is Niyantran. Can we say that?
Yes.
Right. So here it's a very clearly defined thing. Law is niyam, niyantran is regulation, and santulan is balance. For us to find resolution, otherwise we become afflicted from problems there, which our present condition, sorry, which is our present condition, right? Okay. We are actually out of time, so I should stop here. We'll continue again tomorrow because if I keep on reading this a whole big paragraph. So, Badya, I think it was today very again. Babaji is answering quite sometimes lengthily, but the answer is towards orderliness. Again, it's towards the very fact that we are getting it wrong in the sense that we are also not able to uh, connect with the things and finding that we are buried again problems and problems, and that is because we have not understood the rightful. purposefulness of everything, so that can be summed up into that today we have learned that the purposefulness has to be desired within us, and that curiosity has to be there, and that will be like the fulcrum of everything that we do, should be there to understand the purpose of that, and then we go ahead with that, and then again using our mind, body, and wealth faculties, so that we can add towards the orderliness, not continue with what we are doing in the present. Like, obviously we are doing the minimal impact that we are, but that minimum impact, like if everybody on this earth just put their air conditioner to 1 degree higher, even the government had that article just recently, I seen that, and that they had actually calculated how much you would save in a year. So if everybody culminates to that small impact, then we have a very large effect of the same. And I think that's what we are also trying to do here, that everybody, if everybody was resolved, then of course the impact of that would be a very large positive uh, towards orderliness, right? But yeah.
Mhm.
भैया, I would
And
like to just add for a minute.
Hmm.
आपने जो you told about the herbivorous and the carnivorous animals, their way of drinking water.
Right.
आई थिंक उस तरह से तो कभी सोचा नहीं था, एंड थैंक्स टू गिविंग दैट लॉजिक एंड द पर्पसफुलनेस कि क्यों
Yeah.
ऐसा उनका बना होगा. सो
Right.
दिस, थैंक यू.
Yes. I'm just assuming again, but it is making sense that pathogenic bacteria don't leave the body from the way you put the mouth, and then from the herbivores. But if the carnivores did that, then that would have happened, and that would have poisoned the rivers, sorry, lakes, and that would have poisoned every animal which was in the surrounding. And that's how the survival of the animals which were carnivorous have just left with just drinking the water by licking it. So again, orderliness in play, right? Uh, yes. Bhaiya, you wanted to mention something?
yes, yes, I was about to say in today's session,
Right.
what I have learned is instead of struggle, the philosophy of struggle, it should be
Hmm.
replaced by complementariness,
Right.
cooperation, and resolution. And the science should be guided by the wisdom, where there should be a purpose of everything. So these are the few things which I learned in today's session. And
Yes.
secondly,
Bhaiya.
but yeah, I will not be able to make for the next 7 8 days. I don't know whether I
Oh,
will be available or not. I'm going for youth camp in Bhilwara,
acha, बढ़िया.
and hopefully to meet many of the adhyatas there, like
Right.
Paras Didi, Krishan
Uh,
Bhaiya. Hope all they will be attending and we will be meeting.
बढ़िया, बढ़िया. We are
So,
also going to
Baro,
travel soon to Monteria village, so maybe
okay,
I'm trying to rush and see if I can finish by then. But let's
okay,
say after
okay.
the 13th also will not be able to join for at least 10 days.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll announce that once we are coming close to that
Okay,
date.
Bhaiya, okay, okay.
Yes. बढ़िया. Thank you
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you,
Yes, have a
everyone.
good night.
Good night.